single treaty has kept an entire continent frozen in time for over 60 years. No armies, no mining, no borders enforced. Beneath that ice sits 70% of Earth's freshwater, untapped oil fields, and rare earth minerals every major power now desperately needs. In 2048, the legal shield expires for review, and the race to control what could become the next global superpower has already begun. 12 nations gathered in Washington on December 1st, 1959, to sign an agreement unlike any the world had seen. The Antarctic Treaty, enforced from June 23, 1961, declared the entire continent south of 60 degrees latitude off limits to military activity and territorial expansion. Article 1 banned all military measures except those strictly for scientific support. Article 4 froze sovereignty claims in place, preventing any new or expanded claims for as long as the treaty stands. While 7 countries, including Argentina, Australia, Chile, France, New Zealand, Norway, and the United Kingdom, had already staked overlapping claims, the treaty forced all parties, including the United States and Soviet Union, to set their ambitions aside. In exchange, Antarctica became a living experiment in international cooperation, with research as the only permitted pursuit. Over the decades, the treaty's reach has grown. What began with 12 signatories now includes 58 parties, each required to maintain active scientific programs to secure a seat at the table. Today, more than 30 nations operate research stations scattered across the continent, some permanent, some seasonal, all under the oversight of the Antarctic Treaty consultative meetings. The continent's status as a demilitarized scientific preserve has not erased underlying tensions. Instead, it has created a legal shield, one that is now under increasing strain as technology, climate, and geopolitics reshape the stakes. The Antarctic Treaty System stands as both a barrier and a battleground, holding back the tide of strategic competition, for now. Beneath Antarctica's frozen expanse lies a trove of untapped wealth. Geological surveys hint at vast reserves, including hundreds of billions of barrels of oil, trillions of cubic feet of natural gas, and major seams of coal, all buried under kilometers of ice and rock. Rare earth elements, essential for advanced electronics and military hardware, are suspected to be present in quantities rivaling the world's largest deposits. But the most staggering figure is water. Nearly 70% of the planet's liquid fresh water is locked away here, preserved as ice, stretching more than 4 kilometers thick in places. As global demand for resources intensifies, these numbers are impossible for any major power to ignore. Yet every drill and mining rig remains idle. The 1991 Madrid Protocol, binding under international law, bans all commercial extraction of oil, gas, and minerals until at least 2048. Article 7 of the protocol enforces this moratorium with rare unanimity, requiring every original signatory to approve any change. Even after 2048, the ban cannot be lifted without a new, binding legal regime that satisfies all 26 original consultative parties. This legal firewall has so far kept the continent's wealth out of reach. But as technology advances and commodity prices rise, the pressure to revisit these rules grows. The Madrid Protocol's review clause, set to trigger in 2048, now looms as a global flashpoint, a deadline that fuels both hope and anxiety in capitals around the world. The ice is coveted, but for now, it remains off-limits, its riches shielded by law, but targeted by ambition. China's ambitions on the ice have moved far beyond the pursuit of knowledge. On January 27, 2009, the Kunlun station rose atop Dome A, over 4,000 meters above sea level, the highest permanent outpost in Antarctica. Its deep ice drilling and astronomy labs are only part of the story. The station's location and infrastructure offer China a logistical and geophysical foothold deep in the continent's interior, with capabilities that extend well beyond basic research. 15 years later, on February 7, 2024, China unveiled Qinling Station on the Pacific-facing peninsula. This base, operational year-round, boasts a dual-use radar system and supports up to 80 personnel in summer. Its advanced communications and satellite tracking hardware have drawn close scrutiny from Western security analysts, who note the ease with which scientific installations can be repurposed for surveillance or navigation support. Russia is matching pace. In 2023, Moscow committed nearly $1 billion to launch a new 5-ship polar research fleet, each vessel equipped for seabed mapping, subsea drilling, and long-duration cruises along the Southern Ocean. The expansion is more than a scientific upgrade. Russian planners are repositioning their main hub from Mirny to Progress Station, moving closer to untapped continental shelf zones. This network, backed by over 200 personnel on the ground, is designed to secure access, data, and presence, assets that could tip the balance if the legal firewall on mining ever falls. These moves signal a new era. Research outposts are transforming into strategic beachheads, quietly redrawing the map of influence. As the ice thins and the rules face pressure, the line between peaceful science and power projection becomes harder to trace. Antarctica's future may depend on how long that line can hold. Antarctica's ice is no longer the impenetrable barrier it once was. In 2002, the Larsen B ice shelf collapsed, sending 3,250 square kilometers of ancient ice tumbling into the Weddell Sea. The event stunned scientists, but it also revealed something else: a continent in rapid transition. Satellite gravimetry from NASA's GRACE mission shows Antarctica is losing an average of 135 billion tons of ice every year. The pace is accelerating, with the lowest sea ice extent on record, just 2.9 million square kilometers, measured in 2022. West Antarctica, in particular, is melting more than twice as fast as the global average, reshaping coastlines and exposing land and water that have been locked away for millennia. These changes are not just environmental milestones, they are economic and strategic openings. As the ice retreats, new maritime corridors are forming. Seasonal navigation routes now cut up to 3,000 kilometers off shipping between Asia and South America, routes that were once impossible without nuclear-powered icebreakers. Areas once accessible only to the most advanced research teams are now within reach for commercial vessels and, potentially, resource extraction platforms. What was theoretical, untapped oil, gas, rare earths, and fresh water suddenly sits closer to the surface, tempting nations to rethink the costs and risks of reaching for Antarctica's hidden wealth. With every degree of warming, the continent becomes less of a fortress and more of a frontier, inviting not just scientists, but strategists and investors to redraw the map of opportunity. Heavy icebreakers now press through the Southern Ocean in every season, flying the flags of Australia, Chile, Argentina, and New Zealand. Since 2018, each nation has launched new vessels. Australia's RSV Nuyina, for example, entered service in 2021, capable of months-long missions in dense pack ice. Argentina's Almirante Irizar, refitted in 2022, now deploys drones and ocean labs, mapping the seabed and tracking ships well beyond its stated research area. Procurement records from Hobart, Punta Arenas, and Ushuaia show a sharp rise in investment, signaling a shift from scientific resupply to round-the-clock presence. Below the ice, the picture is less clear. No official record confirms United States or United Kingdom submarines beneath Antarctic waters, but naval analysts point to nuclear-powered subs designed for under-ice patrols, acoustic sensors, and the Southern Ocean's value as a stealth corridor. Russian statements in 2023 mention new seabed mapping missions and autonomous vehicle launches, hinting at dual-use operations. Overhead, constellations of synthetic aperture radar and optical satellites from Europe, United States, and China track station construction, ice shifts, and ship movements in near real time. Plans for fiber optic cables, led by the EU and Japan, move closer to reality, promising both scientific data and secure military links. The distinction between research and power grows harder to draw, and the Antarctic Treaty faces mounting strain. The countdown to 2048 is more than a date on the calendar. It is the legal tripwire for the entire Antarctic order. The Madrid Protocol's mining ban can only be altered with the unanimous consent of all 26 original consultative parties, a barrier higher than any ice wall. Even convening a review conference after 2048 requires a majority of all parties and 3/4 of those original signatories. But no amendment enters force until every one of them ratifies both a new legal regime and the change itself. In effect, a single veto by the United States, Australia, or any other founding party can freeze the status quo indefinitely. Yet, the pressure building beneath this system is unlike anything it has faced before. Forecasts for critical minerals show global demand could rise by more than 300% by mid-century, driven by electric vehicles, batteries, and advanced electronics. The world's hunger for rare earths, cobalt and lithium, has already redrawn the map of power in the Arctic and the South China Sea, where resource competition has fueled both legal disputes and military posturing. If the Antarctic consensus fails, the danger is not a sudden outbreak of war, but the collapse of the only legal shield preventing a scramble for the continent's buried wealth. The superpower scenario is not one nation dominating Antarctica. It is the continent itself becoming the ultimate prize, its fate determined by whether the treaty system holds or fractures under the weight of global ambition. Today, treaty signatures guard Antarctica's future, but every new research base, like those in the Arctic and South China Sea, lays groundwork for tomorrow's power plays. As 2048 approaches, the true contest isn't open conflict, it's who rewrites the rules first. The ice may outlast treaties, but not ambition.